Hey guys, welcome back. So I am here with Sixto and Luna today, and we're going to be going over some of my wish list plants. Now, I definitely have quite a few wish list plants. I'm not going to say any of them are like necessarily so crazy that you've never ever heard of them before. Maybe some of them, but I've definitely had like the same core wish list plants for quite some time, and they're gonna stay on there until I acquire them. I love watching these videos, so I thought it would be fun to finally make one for you guys so we can see if we have any of the same wish list plants, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on the ones that I have chosen for my wish list, and let me know like which other ones I need to add. I want to hear what's on your wish list as well. So let me know what your guys' wish lists are down below in the comments. I think it's going to be super fun for all of us to like compare and contrast and maybe get to add some new plants that we didn't think of to our lists. Okay, let's get into it here. I have it all broken up in like different genuses. I've got Philodendron, Monstera, Anthurium, a couple Syngonium, some Begonia, and some Hoya. Now, like I said, I have a ton of wishlist plants, so I could definitely do more of these if you guys want to see more in the future. We're going to start with Monstera because honestly, Monstera is one of my smaller groups of wishlist plants. I don't have a ton that I've been like super on the hunt for. There's just like a handful. I do actually have one more to add to my list. Hold on. The first one on my Monstera wish list is going to be the Thai constellation, of course. How could it not be on there? I mean, look at this plant. And that's obviously why I'm like off to the side here today, is because Sixto and Luna are going to be showing you the pictures of the plants over here because I obviously don't have any of these. That's why they're on my wish list. So I'm going to be pulling beautiful photos that I find off of Instagram so that way you can see who is posting them. I love that this one never reverts, so you don't have to worry about that like you would the elbow, but I have heard that this is a super slow growing plant. I do think that it is the large form Monstera. I will correct myself if I'm wrong on screen here, but I'm pretty certain that it is a large form Monstera, so they will get very large very quickly. So that kind of makes up for the slowness, maybe? Now, speaking of the Monstera elbow, like I mentioned, this plant is also on my wish list, of course, but this one does revert. I love that the elbow and the Thai constellation look so different because that Thai obviously has that really like kind of splotchy constellation like variegation, that's the word I'm looking for, and it comes in a little bit more creamy, sometimes almost a little bit more yellow. It's so beautiful, but the Monstera elbow comes in so perfectly white. And I'm going to put some pictures like side by side too so that you can see the difference of the constellation or of the Thai and the elbow next to each other because oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. When I first started hearing about them, I kind of thought like, why do you need both? You know, they're kind of the same, but no, you guys, they're not the same. And I do think that the Monstera elbow is a smaller form. I have also heard that there's like major issues with root rot. So that's another reason that I've kind of set this plant a little bit on the back burner as far as like wish list plants goes, but I still have to have it on there. The next plant on my wish list, the Esqueleto. It's so gorgeous. So I absolutely love the Monstera Adansonii. I don't think I have an Adansonii right now, so that's, I guess you could also add the Adansonii to my wish list. It's just like the smaller form of the Esqueleto. The Esqueleto is like Adansonii on steroid. The leaves can get like human size. They're incredible, and I just, it's just a beautiful plant, and I feel like they're pretty fast growers too. So I mean, what's not to love, honestly? I just love a really large plant. So I think that's what we'll find for a lot of the plants on my list in general is that they're pretty large, just kind of overall, which does not work for me right now. Unfortunately, I do not have that much space to work with. So yeah, they're going to be on my wish list for a while, I think, but let me know what you guys think. Can I get these in a smaller version? Like a mini, I don't know. The next one on my list for Monstera is the newest one that I have added that I, again, didn't think I like would need, but I think I'm gonna need it. So this one is the Monstera aurea. So it's basically just the yellow variegated version of the Monstera elbow. I am pretty certain that this guy can, I don't know why I'm holding my pen, but I just kind of like it for this. The Monstera aurea is the yellow variegated version of the Monstera elbow. So I am pretty sure that it can revert. Again, if I can figure out if I'm like for sure right or wrong, I'll put it on the screen here. But oh my God, you guys, they're so beautiful. If you haven't seen one in person, I definitely suggest like doing some major Google searches in your area and seeing if there's like a small shop or somewhere that sells one so that you can just go see it and like touch it. Oh my gosh, that's another thing I didn't mention with the Thai Constellation and the Elbow is they look like fake plants. Like, you know, the fake ties or fake elbows that you see at like Michael's or Target. It almost looks exactly like that. Like every time I've seen one in person, I've thought,
Is that real? Or is that fake?
like even when they have brown edges, it still looks fake and they feel fake. They feel just like perfectly rubbery and they feel so tough and sturdy. It's shocking because it's a kind of plant that, because it's been touted as such a rare plant, all of them have been touted as such rare plants, it seems like you'd want to be so delicate and gentle with them, but like really, they're pretty tough plants. I mean, it's a Monstera. So they're pretty tough and it's just, I don't know. It made me feel a little bit better about like lusting over these plants because I feel like I could actually take care of them. I feel like most people could. So yeah, hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better if you have any of these Monstera on your wish list as well, because I think we can take care of them. I really do. You guys are so sweet. We went for a nice long walk this morning. Yeah. Oh, good girl. And it'll be lunch in about 25 minutes. So I better hurry up here. The first one on my philodendron wish list is the Jose Bueno. The Jose Bueno has been on my wish list for a super long time. It's one of those plants that initially I thought was the same, like looks and growth-wise and stuff as the, I'm looking at mine over here, as the Pyrethrin Verde. No, you guys, it grows completely different. The Pyrethrin Verde is a beautiful plant. It can get very, very leggy, and it just kind of grows with like super long, wonky petioles, and it doesn't tend, at least in my experience, doesn't tend to grow in any sort of like super uniform manner, whereas the Jose Bueno seems to grow a little bit more intentionally, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know about the variegation as far as like if it can revert or anything like that for the Jose Bueno. I like to think it doesn't. The Jose Bueno, absolutely beautiful, stunning. I'm gonna move on to the next plant so that this isn't crazy, crazy long. Okay, the next one. This has been on my wish list since the first time I saw one, which was probably like close to 3 years ago now. And this is the Burl Marks Fantasy. It is so stinking cute. A lot of people tend to grow this as a terrarium plant, but I've been seeing more and more people grow these outside of terrarium conditions and growing them up a pole or a plank or something and getting the leaves to get super, super large. And maybe not like super, super large, but you know, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches long, something like that for a Burl Marks Fantasy. I feel like that's pretty long. Usually when I would see them for sale or just like someone having a Burl Marks Fantasy, which I think is also called a BMF, which is pretty cute. But usually they're super, super tiny. The leaves would be like this big or maybe this big. I don't know. I've never really seen one in person before, so I can't truly say, but the photos always depicted them looking really small. But now I've been seeing more and more photos of people having the BMF really, really large, like I said, in comparison to normal size for them. I love the dark, dark color, that beautiful shape. It's just really elegant and sleek looking. And I feel like maybe this depends on the lighting or something like that, or maybe just how a photo was taken, but sometimes I see photos of the Burl Marks Fantasy and it just has the most beautiful looking like veination design on it. It's so beautiful. You just have to see it. I'll have a picture here so that you know what I'm talking about. Okay, the next one on my list, I actually almost got one of these the other day and then I stopped myself because I was like, you don't need to be spending that money right now, and also where you gonna put it. Although I did get a different plant that day that was cheaper and smaller. So progress, I think, a little bit. But this next plant is the Tortum, Philodendron Tortum. It's so stinking cute. I'll pop a picture here. It looks kind of ferny almost. Is that the right word? I feel like it is. That's what I'm sticking with. It looks kind of ferny. It looks kind of palmy, I think. It looks very, very tropical. It's so gorgeous. I think it's actually a really hardy plant. just from touching it a few times, like seeing it at different shops, I feel like it's a really hardy plant. I mean, it's a philodendron, so most philodendron are, but I get the feeling it's kind of like the jungle boogie that is super tough and that just like is a vigorous grower. I have a feeling that the tortum is about the same. The next plant on my list is going to be the golden dragon. Now this one is a newer addition to my wish list, but look at it. It's so beautiful. So this one has kind of a similar shape to sort of like a pedatum. I'll put a photo of a pedatum up here for you so you can see. But it's just kind of more robust looking. It's kind of a thicker looking leaf. It's a little bit wider and oh my God, it's beautiful. And it kind of looks like a dragon head, I think is the idea and why it's named that. But look at that variegation. Oh my goodness. Now I know I'm finding probably photos of just like the best variegates out there, but can you imagine getting so lucky finding a plant like that, like at a local nursery or something? Like, what would you even do with yourself? I would just like, oh, I don't even know. I don't even know. It's just so beautiful. Like I said, this is a newer one to my addition. I found this while I was just like scrolling on Instagram the other day and I was just stopped in my tracks and had to like take a screenshot of it. I will show you the exact photo right here that I found. It's incredible, you guys. My next plant is going to be the Philodendron Soderoy. So this plant is so beautiful. It kind of reminds me of a majestic. There's been quite a few times that I've been looking through photos and I thought that this plant was a majestic, and then I go to click on the photo and look at it and see that it's a soderoy and I'm like, oh, okay, beautiful. Now I need one. So yes, the Philodendron Soderoy is so gorgeous, and I am really happy to report that I've been seeing more and more people post on like Facebook groups. I was going to say marketplace groups, big box store watch groups, posting that they are finding Philodendron Soderoys, like really decent sized ones, probably from Costa Farms for like around $20, which is amazing. So I'm hoping that I luck out one day. The next plant on here, okay, actually the next two plants are pretty similar. And I'm going to tell you why I have them both on the list. Okay, so the first one or the next one on here is the variegated Billietier. Look at her. She's so beautiful. And I have the Philodendron Billietier, the non-variegated version, and that was one of my top wish list plants for a super long time, and then I finally got one, and it definitely 100% holds up to the hype. It's such a beautiful plant, such an easy care plant, and it just like wants to grow. I will say it grows, at least mine does, grows kind of crazy and all over the place. Like, none of the leaves are really facing in the same direction. It's behind me here. But yeah, none of the leaves are really facing in the same direction. And that does not bother me whatsoever because it's just so beautiful. I love those carrot orange petioles and the beautiful shape to the leaves. And they're like super thick leaves too. Like they feel really, really good. Like they're not going anywhere. I think I'm actually... I have one yellowing leaf back there, and it's one of the smallest leaves, and it's one of the leaves that the plant came with well over a year ago. So that's why I have the variegated version on my list. So the other one is the variegated Brill Marks. So gorgeous. Now, like the Billietier, I do have the standard green Brill Marks. I have a couple of them. They're so amazing. They're super fast growers, and they grow completely different than the Billietier. The Billietier grows in like sort of a rosette pattern, and then the Brill Marks grows like up and out and around. It'll grow vertically. It wants to grow vertically first, and then it'll branch out in all different directions, but it's definitely more of a vertical grower, and it is just like so fast. I would say it's a faster grower than the Billietier because I think maybe the leaves are just a little bit smaller, so it takes a little bit less energy to come out. And the leaves are much smaller. I don't know why I said it like that. The Brill Marks leaves are much smaller than the Billietier leaves, but no less beautiful. And they are also a little bit thinner than the Billietier leaves, but they're still like a really substantial leaf, and they're just so beautiful. And I saw a variegated one in person recently, and it was just like mind-blowing. So pretty. Let's do Syngonium. I only have a couple Syngonium on my list. If you are super interested in Syngonium yourself, definitely let me know in the comments which ones I need to add to my wish list. But the ones that are for sure on my wish list, that have been on my wish list for quite some time, both of these. The first one is going to be the Syngonium Chia Pet. This one right here. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. The leaves look like they're leathery almost, and like the lobes, when they kind of like overlap each other, oh, I just can't get over it. It's so beautiful. And these leaves look like they get really, really large as well. So you'll notice that the Syngonium, the two that I have on my list, don't have that shape that you think of when you think of a Syngonium that's just like growing somewhere in Hawaii, probably invasively. I don't really know, but they're beautiful. But it's not that like normal Syngonium shape that you think of with like the T shape kind of thing going on. These ones are heart shaped, and oh my goodness, they're just so beautiful. I love how large they get and how dark they are too. Oh, it's so pretty. And okay, again, I'm gonna have to add another one onto my list as we speak. The variegated version. Can we look at the variegated version, please? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so beautiful. I've been seeing the variegated chia pens more and more lately across like all social media platforms. And by all, I mean Instagram and YouTube, because those are the only two that I use. But I've been seeing them a lot more lately, and they're so beautiful. And I feel like this is another hardy variegated plant. I could be wrong, but it just seems like one that I don't really see like a bunch of burnt photos of or crispy photos of. The white always looks nice and crisp and white, and it always looks good. So maybe I'm just being deceived by the Photoshop. I like to think not, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is the variegated chia pens worth it in your opinion? Obviously the prices are still really high right now. I'll just see if I can find like some Etsy listings or something for the variegated version, because they are pretty high if I'm remembering correctly. But let me know if you have it if you have it, let me know, is it worth it? So my other Syngonium that's on my wish list is the Frosted Heart Syngonium, which in my opinion looks very, very similar to the chia pens, but just with like that silvery haziness across the leaf. Oh, it's so beautiful. Here's the photo. You can definitely see why it's called the Frosted Heart. I don't know if it has like a more botanical name or if that is the botanical name. I did actually get the chance to see one of these in person when I was in Colorado at the Flower Bin. So if you're ever at the Flower Bin in Colorado, I think it is in Longmont, Colorado, I highly, highly suggest checking that place out. They always have beautiful plants. It's super huge too, and it just like feels good to be in there, you know? I mean, it's a greenhouse. Of course it feels good to be in there, but they had a few frosted heart and they were just so pretty. Oh my gosh. The leaves are just like the best feeling texture. I can't even describe it. It wasn't leathery, not suede-y. It's like a cross between rubbery and leathery. Does that make sense? It's not going to make sense, but once you touch it, hopefully it will make sense for you too. But yes, these are the two plants on my Syngonium wish list as of now. Although I will say I did get to see a Syngonium mojito in person the other day. It was so, so beautiful. I'll pop a picture here so that you know what I'm talking about. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is more of that like classic Syngonium leaf shape that I think of when I think of Syngonium. So I definitely would like more of these kinds of Syngonium in my collection in the future, because they just look so jungly to me, and where Syngonium are a little bit more nerve-wracking for me because the leaves are a bit on the thinner side. This one in particular, when I touched the leaves, felt a little bit more substantial. So I don't know if it was just that particular specimen that I got to see, or if that's just kind of how the Syngonium mojito is. Again, let me know in the comments. I feel like I'm asking for so many things, but it's a wish list video, so I guess that comes with lots of questions and hopefully some good answers from you guys. So I think that's going to wrap up this part 1 of my wish list video for 2023. Let me know what you guys think, and hopefully you join me for my part 2 really soon.